All right, returning to our top story and that deal between the U.S. and Iran, we want to bring in U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen, Democrat from New Hampshire. She's also the top Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Welcome back to the BBC. I want to ask you, first of all, something that's just coming into us. And Iran says that it will charge ships crossing the Strait of Hormuz after that 60-day period is over. I just want to get your reaction to that before we dive deeper into that deal.
Well, I would hope that that's not something that the negotiators for the United States and President Trump have agreed to, because before this war started, the Strait of Hormuz was not even a bargaining chip for Iran. So any deal that allows them to charge commerce going through the straits is a very bad deal, not just for the United States, but for the world.
President Trump said today he thinks that this agreement with Iran achieves everything we set out to accomplish, he said, and much more. He says it ended the current conflict. He says it reopens the Strait of Hormuz, and he also said that it prevents Iran from ever obtaining a nuclear weapon. Do you agree with the president that this deal, as it stands right now, accomplishes all of his war aims?
Well, we haven't really seen the details of what was agreed to. What has been released, if it is accurate, is a very bad deal. It didn't accomplish any of the aims that the president talked about before he started this war, and we would be coming out with an outcome that is much worse than the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal that the president pulled us out of in his first term. It does not address Iran's support for proxies. It doesn't address their missile program. It doesn't provide for any of the details about how they're going to handle the enriched uranium and for what any future nuclear deal might look like. It leaves not just the current regime in place, but a regime that's even more hardline than the one at the start of this war. So it's not accomplished any of the aims that President Trump laid out at the start of the war.
Senator, that JCPOA deal you mentioned, that was ratified by Congress after it was brokered by President Obama. Do you think that this deal should also get the same treatment? And if so, would you vote to approve it?
I think it should get the same treatment under our laws. It should come to Congress for a decision. And I think it would be in the interest of the president and of the American public for the president to be as transparent as possible with Congress and with the public and give us the details of this agreement. What we see in this MOU that has been released, that the White House has not acknowledged whether it's what was agreed to or not, really doesn't tell us the details, and the American public has a right to know after the billions of dollars that have been spent, that American taxpayers are paying through higher energy costs, through higher costs of groceries and cost of living. They have a right to know what this president has agreed to.
Senator, we have about a minute left here, but I wanted to ask you, if Iran fails to live up to this deal, President Trump said today that he would be willing to start dropping bombs again on the country. Would you support the U.S. going back to war with Iran if it does violate the deal?
Well, in contrast to what the president might have said, what he agreed to in the deal was that we would not, and what Iran said in this MOU is that neither party would go to war in the future, regardless. There's no whether they violated the deal or not. So I think there are a lot of details that have not been made public about what's been agreed to. I think it's positive that the fighting has ended, but not if it's total capitulation to Iran that gives them the lifting of sanctions and the funding to be able to rebuild their military, to be able to rebuild their nuclear program. There are just too many unanswered questions here.
Senator Jeanne Shaheen, Democrat from New Hampshire, the ranking member on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Thank you very much.